Hi, second graders. So today I will be finishing the chapter in the BFG called A Troggle Humper for the Flesh Lump Eater. And this was, we had discussed how the title of this chapter really means a nightmare for the flesh lump eater. The flesh lump eater remembers one of the other giants, one of the not so nice giants. And the BFG and Sophie had come back from giant country, and they had the idea to basically give that nightmare or that troggle humper to the flesh lump eater. All of the giants were sleeping, and the BFG put his trumpet up to his mouth and blew that nightmare into the flesh lump eater. So we'll have to see what happens if he wakes up and all that. So we had left off, I think, here's the picture of the BFG blowing that troggle humper to the flesh lump eater. And then he starts, thrashing all around as he experiences the nightmare. Okay. The thrashing of limbs and the waving of arms became more violent by the second. It was an awesome thing to watch such a massive creature having such mighty convulsions. "It's Jack!" bellowed the flesh lump eater. "It's the grewful, grunchous Jack! Jack is after me! Jack is whack crackling me! Jack is spike sticking me! Jack is splash plunking me! It is the terrible freight swiping Jack!" The flesh lump eater was writhing all over the ground like some colossal tortured snake. "Oh, spare me, Jack!" he yelled. "Don't hurt me, Jack!" "Who is this Jack he's on about?" Sophie whispered. "Jack is the only human being all giants is frightened of," the BFG told her. "They is all absolutely terrified of Jack. They is all hearing that Jack is a famous giant killer. So as I continue reading, I want you to be thinking about who Jack might be. Remember, these are giants. So think about what story, like a classic sort of story that would involve Jack and some giants. "Save me!" screamed the flesh lump eater. "Have mercy on this poor little giant, the beanstalk. He is coming at me with a terrible spike-sticking beanstalk. Take it away! I is begging you, Jack. I is praying you not to touch me with your terrible spike-sticking beanstalk." "Us giants," the BFG whispered, "is not knowing very much about this dreaded human being called Jack. We is knowing only that he is a famous giant killer, and that he is owning something called a beanstalk. We is knowing also that the beanstalk is a fearsome thing, and Jack is using it to kill giants." Sophie couldn't stop smiling. "What is you griggling at?" the BFG asked her, slightly nettled. "I'll tell you later," Sophie said. So here's the picture of Sophie and the BFG talking, and in the background you see, the flesh lump eater kind of moving all around. Also, what story or what sort of thing do you think he's thinking about when he's talking about Jack and killing giants? Are any of you thinking of the story of Jack and the Beanstalk? If so, that's what the giants are afraid of, is Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk. The awful nightmare had now gripped the great brute with such an extent that he was tying his whole body into knots. "Do not do it, Jack," he screeched. "I was not eating you, Jack. I is never eating human beings. I swear I has never gobbled a single human being in all my wholesome life." "Liar," said the BFG, because we know that's not true. Just then, one of the flesh lump eater's flailing fists caught the still fast asleep meat-dripping giant smack in the mouth. At the same time, one of his furiously thrashing legs kicked the snoring gizzard-gulping giant right in the guts. Both the injured giants woke up and leaped to their feet. So with the flesh lump eater, moving all around, he ended up kind of hitting some of the other giants, and then they woke up and they're not happy. "He is swiping me right in the mouth," yelled the meat dripper. "He is bung-swoggling me smack in the guts," shouted the gizzard gulper. The two of them rushed at the flesh lump eater because they're angry they just got woken up by him hitting them. The two of them rushed at the flesh lump eater and began pounding him with their fists and feet. The wretched flesh lump eater woke up with a bang. He awoke straight from one nightmare into another. So the flesh lump eater did wake up in the midst of this, huge battle here. He roared into battle, and in the bellowing, thumping, rough and tumble that followed, one sleeping giant after another either got stepped on or kicked. Soon, all 9 of them were on their feet, having the most almighty free for all. Oh boy. So they're slowly each getting woken up by being, hit or kicked or something, and they all just start fighting with each other because they think, they're being attacked by the others. So here they all are in a fighting free for all. They punched and kicked and scratched and bit and butted each other as hard as they could. Blood flowed, noses went crunch, teeth fell out like hailstones. The giants roared and screamed and cursed, and for many minutes the noise of battle rolled across the yellow plain. The BFG smiled a big wide smile of absolute pleasure. I is loving it when they is all having a good tough and rumble, he said. They'll kill each other, Sophie said. Never, the BFG answered. Those beasts is always bishing and walloping at one another. Soon it will be getting dusky, and they will be galloping off to fill their tummies. They're coarse and foul and filthy, Sophie said. I hate them. As the BFG headed back to the cave, he said quietly, We certainly was putting that nightmare to good use, though, wasn't we? Excellent use, Sophie said. Well done, you. So Sophie does speak correctly. Instead of saying, well done, or, you did a great job, she said, well done, you. So she was almost kind of speaking the way the BFG speaks, kind of like in his language, in a way that he understands. And that was the end of that chapter. It was a pretty violent one. The title of the next chapter, which I'll read tomorrow, is called Dreams. So that sounds like a nicer chapter than the one we just read about. Also, think to yourself, what are dreams called? Do you remember what the BFG calls dreams? Like happy, nice dreams? Remember, nightmares are called trogglehumpers. Dreams are called, do you remember it? Called fizz wizards. Fizz wizards. All right, so we will hear about the dreams tomorrow. Bye for now.